Okay, so in this video, we're going to go through sled sprinting. So obviously, we put this in your program because you have access to a sled that we can use on field. So a couple of things I just want you to know just before we set up is that in this example, I'm using a chest harness. So obviously what you can see is that I have the rope connected here, and then I simply have two loops that go up and around each side of my shoulders. So just sort of like two crossed over straps on my shoulders that don't inhibit my shoulder movement. And yeah, they sort of cross over. So obviously I have one going from my left hip up to my right shoulder, and then my right hip going up to my left shoulder. And they obviously just cross over and they're connected on the back. So it's not put on like a backpack. You know, we're not sort of going around like this, as that will inhibit the shoulders and it won't feel too comfortable. You want to spread that load across your chest. We can also use a waistband. So we can also use a band around the waist. My preference is for a chest strap, simply because it doesn't inhibit the hips as much. So what we're going to do is we're obviously going to set it for the distance that we're going to use. So in this example, I'm doing 10 meters, and then we're just going to set up for our sprint position, whatever that is, whether that's a 2-point or a 3 or 4-point like I'm doing here. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we've taken all the slack out of the sled. Obviously the sled's off screen, but what we don't want to see is a loose band, because obviously what will happen is as I drive up and through, this is going to snap up and it's going to snap into resistance, and you're going to see like a little bit of a jerk effect, but we'll work on that as you go through your reps. So you just want to make sure that you've pulled the sled slightly forwards in your position to set back a little bit further, and then pull it up and in and get all that slack out of the band or out of the rope connected to the sled. And then all we're going to do is just drive forwards and just do a sprint rep as best we can. So why we use a sled really can sort of be defined as, let me find a good freeze frame for you. So if we just come out of here, yeah, fantastic. Cool. So the purpose of a sled sprint is it allows us to lean over more. So obviously once I'm carrying this weight, it's going to add lots and lots of friction, which requires me to lean more forwards and to put more forward projection in order to move this weight. So obviously this requires me to drag it across the ground, which requires that horizontal displacement, which is obviously super key for sprinting. Second of all, obviously, of course, it allows me to lean in. It also means that I have to stamp my foot and produce more force as I'm overcoming this friction. So overall, it's going to help us achieve the main aims of sprinting, which is to horizontally displace ourselves better and also to drive into the ground harder and faster and utilize this longer ground contact time to build speed. So we're just going to look to sprint with the sled, and really that is the sort of rationale for using sled sprinting. And then obviously once you're at the end, turn yourself around. Yeah, work with me on how best to sprint, but this is just a general rationale video and understanding of how sleds look and how they develop. So yeah, once again, as you can see, all the slack is out. So as I come up, what you see is the band, the rope loops around my back, and you can see that I pull all that slack out. So that when I come forwards, there is no slack in there, so it doesn't jerk forwards. Hope that makes sense. Any questions, just drop me a line.